I just want him to look this way.
I'll just look at Chip.
I'm sorry.
Mic check. 1, 2, 3, 3, 2, 1. It sound good for everyone? Take your time, Patrick. 1, 2, 3, Patrick. 3, 2, 1. We'll just, y'all mind waiting just a second? We got.
He's with me.
Oh, that's fine. Yeah. We'll wait. No, we're gonna wait. We're gonna wait. You just whenever you're ready, man. Seriously. No. Whenever you're ready, you're fine.
I'm fine. Y'all can just start it with that one.
You got it. Take your time, bud.
Hey, how's it going? You let Kobe off tonight.
Everyone good? All right. Good evening, everyone. I'm Officer Truman Fitzgerald with the Birmingham Police Department's Public Information Division. And right now, our department has launched a double homicide investigation. Just after 6 p.m., East Precinct officers were dispatched to a person shot call in the 6800 block of 66th Street South. Officers arrived on scene when they observed an adult male lying in the roadway suffering from an apparent gunshot wound. Birmingham Fire and Rescue personnel transported him to UAB Hospital with life-threatening injuries. Our responding officers on the scene on 66th Street South put out a be on the lookout for bulletin on the vehicle containing the shooter, which was given over the police radio. A few minutes later, a separate group of our officers received a call at Woodlawn High School that a person was shot at the school. Officers arrived on scene here in the 5600 block of 1st Avenue North at Woodlawn High School and observed a vehicle matching the exact description which was issued on the police radio. Officers approached that vehicle when they observed an adult female lying unresponsive in the vehicle suffering from an apparent gunshot wound. Birmingham Fire and Rescue personnel arrived on scene and then pronounced the adult female deceased right here at Woodlawn High School. While officers were on both scenes investigating, we learned from UAB hospital staff that the male who was shot on 66th Street South passed away. The preliminary investigation has revealed the following. We believe that some sort of domestic dispute took place on 66th Street South, which led to shots being fired. The male was shot. He's deceased. The female was shot on 66th Street South, who's here at Woodlawn. She was shot at the original location. She is deceased. The relationship between both deceased parties are possibly child in common. So the underlying theme behind this shooting is another domestic dispute. We have officers and detectives on both scenes, and we're going to be on 66th Street South and Woodlawn High School for some time until we wrap this up. We also want to point out that we did have an adult female who was also shot during this dispute. She has suffered non-life-threatening injuries. So just a quick recap. Officers were dispatched to 6800 66th Street South on report of a person shot, observed a male shot. Officers issued a BOLO on the vehicle. They made contact with that vehicle, observed a deceased female who was shot, and a separate adult female was shot as well. And this is all because of a domestic dispute, we think. Any questions?
What was the 66th Street area? How was that involved? One of the parties lived there?
We believe possibly that one of the parties did leave there or was there and a separate party came to them. So one message that we can get out is we preach a lot about conflict resolution, but conflict avoidance is just as important. You know, here we have a domestic dispute that was probably already stemming from a separate incident, possibly earlier in the day, and two parties met up and shots were fired. And we have lost 2 people because of it.
So they were never in the same vehicle, they were in different vehicles.
Great question. Never in the same vehicle. This stemmed from one party meeting up with another party, a dispute taking place, and shots being fired.
So there was an exchange of gunfire, it sounds like.
We don't know if there was necessarily an exchange. That's the weird part about this scene. We're still trying to determine how the male was actually shot. We do know that we believe the male from 66th Street fired shots at our victim here at Woodlawn. We do know that. We're still determining how the male was in fact shot.
The victim here at Woodlawn, did she drive herself?
She did not. The separate female who was shot in the leg that suffered the non-life-threatening injury, she was the driver.
So how did they want you? Do you have any idea how they wound up here?
My guess, from where 66th Street South is located, they were traveling to a hospital, because you would have to pass by Woodlawn to get to the hospital, probably stop. Hey, this is a serious injury. I might as well stop and call the police. And that's what happened. But unfortunately, the female did not survive from her injuries.
What about the other female? How is she doing?
She has suffered non-life-threatening injuries. We think she's going to be okay.
Was she taken to a local hospital, EAD or something?
Yes, sir. Local area hospital.
Was she the one driving the car, I imagine?
Yes, sir. We believe she was the one driving.
Were they in the car when the shooting happened, or were they outside the car?
Good question. That is what we're trying to determine, whether our female who's deceased was actually located in the car when she was shot. However, she's deceased, and we believe her child's father is also deceased. So, Birmingham, these are two separate homicides in less than 2 days that have stemmed from domestic disputes.
And Truman, now we have a child that doesn't have either of its parents, it sounds like. Just how upsetting is this for you and your officers?
It's heartbreaking because we have a child who has lost both parents, and you can only imagine the argument never warranted a serious response, such as both of them being shot. And that's why we want to preach, we often talk about conflict resolution. It's past time we start talking about conflict avoidance. If you know there's tension, if you know there is an ongoing beef or feud, we have to just avoid the conflict, because we've shown we can't resolve conflicts peacefully. So how about we just avoid them completely, because we're continuing to see conflicts being solved by people being shot.
So
Yes, sir.
you may have mentioned this already, and I just want to get a recap. Do we know where the child is, and what was the relationship of the injured female, other people?
The officers were in the process of trying to locate where that child is right now. The relationship of the victim who has suffered non-life-threatening injuries, we believe she's either a friend or possibly a family member.
Of the female victim.
Of the female victim.
So to be clear, the child was not at the scene, is that correct?
That's what our officers were trying to determine before we gave our briefing. They were in the process of trying to locate that child, but child's not injured that we know of. But however, again, we have a mother and a father who are deceased.
Do y'all believe the child is safe, at least?
We do. We've not had any indication that the child was injured or, worst case scenario, shot.
Is the death of the father suspected to be a suicide at this point, or do you know?
No, sir. We not at this time. We're working it as a double homicide. All right.
I'm guessing these were fairly young adults, and I guess they had a fairly young child, it sort of sounds like.
Don't know the age of the child, just from sadly seeing the victim, the adult female. She's a young adult female. And let us just point out, we don't like prioritizing victims, but this is our third female homicide victim in less than 2 days. And, it's tragic anytime you lose someone, but 3 females in less than 2 days, this is heartbreaking. Being a male myself, this is just heartbreaking, seeing these females lose their lives like this. So yes, sir.
One more thing.
Yes, sir, sure.
What are y'all doing now? We have 2 people that are dead, one person that's still trying to recover, a child is safe, presumably. What are y'all doing now in this investigation?
What you do, even though you have possibly a suspect who's deceased, you still work it as if it's an active investigation. Our detectives and our officers will work this till we close it, just as though we had a living suspect. And again, let us point out, we still don't know how the male in this situation was shot. So if there is a third person who fired shots that's out there, we need you to come forward. You can remain anonymous if you have any additional information by dialing Crime Stoppers 205-254-7777. All right. Any additional questions? I know this is a Complex scene. We could clear up any questions now if need be.
So Woodlawn High School, they just happen to stop here. That's the only connection.
Yes, sir. Woodlawn High School has no affiliation to this scene other than the separate party chose to stop here for safety. All righty. Thank you so much, gentlemen.